I'm a huge Kill Tony fan. It's one of the greatest shows on TV, on YouTube, period. It's one of the great, it's just, the thing that's so great about it is it's kind of like a people watching thing, right? Because it's people that put their names in a hat and then they get up to do stand up. But some of them bomb, and Tony is a brilliant joke writer. He sits there and writes down jokes while they're doing their set, and then he makes fun of them if they suck, or if they're good, he makes fun of them. And then based on how they interact with him, sometimes even if they suck, he kind of shows them love and gives them a second chance and whatever, if they're an interesting interview. And if you watch the show, they dig greatness out of so many people, from the disabled people to, people of all racial, backgrounds. Watch this, Tony. This is the Tony Hinchcliffe Trump rally, Madison Square Garden speech. Enjoy.
Special. 17 years ago, I was sleeping in my car behind the Comedy Store in LA, and I'm proud to say this is my 4th time performing at Madison Square Garden, the most famous arena in the damn world. The American dream, alive and well, right here. This is very different than I'm used to performing, though. I'm used to nighttime with people drinking, not so many babies in the crowd, and people that are obviously only here for Lee Greenwood tonight. Normally, I don't make my political beliefs a known thing. It's divisive for a comedian to do that, but just know I sleep well at night knowing who I'm voting for. Yeah. When I lay down and my head hits my pillow, it is a fantastic pillow, by the way. I was staying at Four Seasons up by Central Park one night, and I laid my head down, and it felt so good. I have a little bit of money now. I could buy a good pillow, and I took the pillowcase off, and there it was. My pillow, my pillow, my pillow. And damn it, I bought 4 of them. And if you use the promo code KillTony, you can also buy 4 My Pillows.
I was just going to say, I bet this is a product placement. He probably got paid for that.
There's serious stuff happening, people. I live in the great state of Texas now. 18 years in Ohio, 20 years in California, and I got to see California turn to absolute horrendous thing. And traveling the world,
this is the thing I love about these pro-Trump channels. They always have some little scheme to sell you something on the side. The merchandise thing. Hey, do what you got to do.
San Francisco turned into one of the most demented cities, one of the greatest downfalls I've ever seen. And that is where the other candidate worked for 2 decades. And it's absolutely wild to see. And in Texas, stuff is really, really crazy. We're right there by a wide open border. Where are my proud Latinos at tonight? You guys see what I mean? It's wide open. There's so many of them. It's absolutely incredible. Believe it or not, people, I welcome migrants to the United States of America with open arms. And by open arms, I mean like this.
I should have pulled a clip of Kamala saying, "Do not come." She did a whole press conference where she said, "Do not come," and that's what Tony's little hand signal thing reminded me of. But I just want to pause for a second to say, people that know who Tony is, which is a lot of people, can watch this and go, okay, he's joking. He's a roast comedian. But let's keep going.
It's wild. And these Latinos, they love making babies too. Just know that. They do. They do. There's no pulling out. They don't do that. They come inside, just like they did to our country.
He even does the Rock Texas accent when he makes that joke. He's like, "Oh, they come inside just like they did to our country."
Republicans are the party with a good sense of humor. Free speech is under attack, people. I host a show, and each week I get updates what words we're allowed to use and not use anymore. It's happening right now the past few years.
Notice how this part of Tony's speech didn't even get touched on in any of the debates over what he said about Puerto Rico.
Real thing. And, you know, used to be able to tell people to Google stuff. My mom's a boomer in the state of Ohio, and there's no convincing her of anything. She's eating the cats. She's eating the dogs. They're eating the pets up there. It is absolutely wild times. It really, really is. And, you know, there's a lot going on. Like, I don't know if you guys know this, but there's literally a floating island of garbage in the middle of the ocean right now. Yeah. I think it's called Puerto Rico. Okay. All right. Okay. We're getting there. Again,
so
normally
the other
I don't
thing
follow
about this that I think is interesting that the press again didn't kind of touch on. When he made that joke, the crowd visibly went, "Oh no, boo!" He got booed there. So how do you run with this narrative that Trump people are racist against Latinos or whatever? They laughed at the baby making jokes and all the other stuff, but even that was like a little bit. Plus, he's in New York, so I'm sure there are a lot of Puerto Ricans there. But still, you know, it was an off-color joke. Anyway, I don't want to keep. You can watch the rest of that. It's funny. There goes my thing again. We'll go to the comments for a second. Hey, Jennifer, my curtain keeps falling down so you can see my beautiful art here. And everybody's in the comments today. Thanks for tuning in, you guys. I'm going to keep going down this rabbit hole and not worry too much about my curtain behind me. But I want to show you this next clip of just the media kind of framing in response to that. This is just from a local news station, and here's kind of how they framed the Tony Hinchcliffe incident on just basic ABC.
The Trump campaign distancing itself from comedian Tony Hinchcliffe after saying this about Puerto Rico at a Trump rally in New York's Madison Square Garden last night.
Like, I don't know if you guys know this, but there's literally a floating island of garbage in the middle of the ocean right now. Yeah. I think it's called Puerto Rico.
The campaign says this joke does not reflect the views of President Trump or the campaign. Former President Trump taking the stage, painting the country as a failing nation, though government data says otherwise. Trump also unveiling a new tax credit proposal.
And I'm announcing a new policy today.
So I love that framing right there. President Trump painting the country as a failing nation, but government data says otherwise. We know how valuable that is.
That I will support a tax credit for family caregivers who take care of a parent or a loved one. It's about time that they were recognized, right?
Vice President Kamala Harris proposing a similar plan weeks ago. Harris with a rally.
So look at how they framed that. Trump says this thing that has this great applause, and they're like, President Harris announced a similar plan weeks ago. These guys aren't totally slanted towards the current administration for some crazy reason, are they?
In Philadelphia.
We understand we have an opportunity before us to turn the page on the fear and the divisiveness that have characterized our politics for a decade because of Donald Trump.
A new poll from ABC News and Ipsos shows Harris with a slight lead, 4 points nationally among likely voters.
Someone made a great point about how national polls kind of don't matter because it's really the swing states that decide and the popular vote is irrelevant. So I want to show you this about Kill Tony, and I don't know if we're going to read it all, but this is crazy. So again, this is a data point people are totally missing around this, whatever you want to call it, scandal. Eating SNL's lunch, how Tony Hinchcliffe's Kill Tony podcast became your favorite comedian's favorite show and sold out MSG twice. And this is from August 26th of this past year. So Tony Hinchcliffe is hugely popular, so much so that he's eating SNL's lunch. The reception Tony Hinchcliffe received when he entered the sold-out Madison Square Garden on August 9th and 10th was nothing short of electric. So now you kind of understand the strategic mentality of someone who's working for the Trump campaign to bring Tony out. Now, whether or not doing that joke about Puerto Rico was smart is another whole other issue. Strategically, I don't think it was smart for Tony to say it, but I'm just kind of trying to illustrate to you why I think the Trump campaign brought this guy to their rally at Madison Square Garden, because he had just sold it out twice. It was the kind of ovation Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson used to get on his many appearances at the world's most famous arena during WWE's Attitude Era. Early Rock, mind you, the character that everybody loved despite his being a heel, an adversary in pro wrestling lingo. Hinchcliffe finding himself in a similar situation, a roaster by nature. He may never become fully fledged babyface, which is in wrestling terms the good guy, but more than 25,000 people on their feet over 2 nights didn't care one whit. Hinchcliffe wasn't at the Garden to perform solo material, but as the host and booker of the hottest comedy show on earth right now, Kill Tony, one of the few podcasts to make steep jump from sponsored digital content to hard ticket act. The show's first podcast ever broadcast from Madison Square Garden were sold out with seat kills, and the biggest Kill Tony live shows to date, selling 25,193 tickets across 2 nights, averaging 12,596 per night and grossing a total of 2.3 million. I'm not going to read all that, according to the box office report submitted to Pollstar. So this guy is massive. And if you watch corporate media, you might not know that. Kill Tony is a talent show in the broadest sense, featuring Hinchcliffe, co-host Brian Redband, and a changing panel of special guests who invite amateur comedians on stage, listen to a minute of their set, and talk about it. Anybody can sign up before the show. Names are collected in a bucket and pulled at random. Anything can happen, as Hinchcliffe always reminds the audience before reaching into the bucket. It's true, some signups bomb spectacularly, either because they're nervous to the point of shaking or because their jokes aren't funny. But for the most part, the majority hold up well. For some, it's their very first time on stage doing comedy in front of an audience. Others have been doing stand-up for ages to no avail. The show is at its best when you see an unknown comedian for the first time immediately realize they were born for this. Take Trish Smart from episode 655, March 19th, 2024, who travels the world as a self-described nomadic stand-up comic who last March killed on the podcast, which now has 2.6 million YouTube views. So let's keep going. The funniest end up as regulars on the show, like Cam Patterson, whose early appearances on Kill Tony went viral. He is currently touring comedy clubs up and down the country and performed both nights at Madison Square Garden to an ovation worthy of a superstar in the making. If you do well as a regular, you may become a Hall of Famer like David Lucas, introduced by Hinchcliffe as the Dark Roast God. When he came on stage in New York, he lived up to his name, shredding anybody sitting on the panel next to Hinchcliffe. Joe Rogan and Shane Gillis on night 1, Dave Attell, Adam Ray as Joe Biden, and Shane Gillis as Donald Trump on night 2. Watching my regulars get up to have the moment of their lives up there, to watch people that got pulled out of a bucket have an opportunity, going from sitting in the audience, not knowing if they're performing, to performing in the greatest arena of all time, made me feel so happy, said Hinchcliffe. When we spoke 2 days after the MSG shows, he was still reeling from what he has described as an absolute rush. So the point of me reading this to you again is to point out that, first of all, the corporate media is completely dog shit and most people know it. And second, that this whole outrage about the Puerto Rico thing, I think is going to backfire spectacularly, because millions upon millions of people watch Tony Hinchcliffe all the time and know who he is. And he's a genuinely good dude who likes to make fun of people. Like, he's made a living off of it. And everyone gets equal dish, and people make fun of him all the time. So I think that when people who are fans of the show, or even have a passing knowledge of the show, see this kind of like instant like pearl clutching around it, it's not going to really do what they think it's going to do. I have a lot of this article, and I'm going to try to read it fast, but I feel like I haven't even begun to come down yet, he continued. Luckily, a lot of my friends that were part of the show have been calling and telling me the same thing. It makes me feel more human getting a call from Andrew Dice Clay saying that was the greatest thing I've ever seen. I've been having trouble sleeping because of the adrenaline. He was the first comedian to ever sell out Madison Square Garden. And here we are, however many decades later, and he's losing sleep over it. It makes me feel like I'm okay. And I've been getting those calls from absolutely everybody. The Black Keys, Aaron Rodgers, Joe Rogan, Joey Diaz, everybody that was part of it. The Black Keys opened for the second night of Kill Tony at MSG, and Rodgers came out right at the end to throw custom designed Kill Tony footballs into the audience and put a ribbon on this thing. As Hinchcliffe often says, moments before Rogan had appeared after being called a coward by Gillis Trump for endorsing Robert F. Kennedy Jr., Rogan announced the acclamated veteran comedian Joey Diaz, who came out to close things in style. The king has arrived, said Hinchcliffe. I love you, mother effers. I grew up in this bitch, said Diaz. The crowd was on its feet. So not only is Hinchcliffe, beloved by comedians, people that watch that show see how he puts people on, and it's if you've ever seen it, he makes disabled people famous. And I just want to show you real quick, just more evidence of who Tony Hinchcliffe really is. But this is a search I did for Tony Hinchcliffe disabled comedians, right? And when you look at this, here's all the disabled comedians that Tony Hinchcliffe has made famous. Here's Aaron Belial. He's mute and he uses a machine to talk. This is from Aaron Belial's own channel. So he's sharing this, and it's already got 770,000 views from a year ago. Kill Tony debut of Fiona Cawley. Fiona Cawley is a woman who's in a wheelchair, who's hilarious. Let's keep going. Martin Phillips has cerebral palsy. This is a guy who is doing tours now. A guy with cerebral palsy who's doing tours around the country and getting paid to do comedy because of Tony Hinchcliffe. Here's another Aaron Belial clip. Who else do we got in here? I took a couple clips and we'll show them. But before we do that, I want to show you this, because this is just another piece of evidence that Tony is a lot more well known and big than I think people understand. Listen to this. This is crazy.
A real fun fact is the roast of Tom Brady was the most watched program in Netflix's entire history.
Holy
ever.
That was before he sold out Madison Square Garden twice too.
Watched over 1.5 billion minutes.
Jesus Christ.
The episode of Kill Tony with Shane Gillis as Donald Trump.
Now Asians are hitting us with sticks. What's going on?
And Adam Ray as Joe Biden.
I should be in bed right now with a melatonin and a book.
Hilarious.
Beat that. 1.5 billion minutes watched to 2.5 billion minutes watched.
Wow.
It holds a YouTube record for retention rate. Wow. Anybody that watched it went back and started it where they stopped it the day before or watched it the whole way through. People watched it twice. People watched it 3 times. So the most watched comedy program of this year was done right around the corner at the Comedy Mothership.
Just before I move into showing you some of the better clips of Tony, some of the funner clips, to give you a better idea if you don't know who he is, who he really is. Here's Louis Gomez talking about, he's a Puerto Rican, and here's his take on the Tony thing.
Ricky Martin, Bad Bunny, and J-Lo were the main.
Bad Bunny. So Puerto Rico, that's a town?
I think it's a borough or something of the DR. I don't know.
Yeah, it's and see, here's the other thing. People are like, dude, is this gonna sway the vote now? The Puerto Rican vote is, first of all, let me say this. The Puerto Rican vote's not swaying anything, okay? We've never swayed fucking anything in the history of the universe.
They have 3 channels in Puerto Rico right now, okay? They got the old school TV, the Magnavox. They have no idea.
Yeah, your grandpa's holding the antenna on top of it, moving it. It's Puerto Rico.
They're watching Fast and Furious Tokyo Drift on DVD right now. They have no idea what the is going on.
So the amount of people being like, oh, it's going to sway the vote, the amount of Puerto Ricans, and then they're counting the influence that, like, it's Ariana Grande too, Bad Bunny, it's like it's in the billions. The amount of influence that these people have is in the billions.
AOC wasn't happy.
Listen.
Those people weren't going to vote for him.
They were not voting for nobody's changing their vote over Tony Hinchcliffe's jokes. Nobody. It's not happening. Not a single person is going, you know what? I was going to vote for Trump, but now that was just too much. That's psychotic.
No, me and Danny used to have this.
So it was funny because when I was looking for clips for this, I was looking for old Tony clips, and any Tony Hinchcliffe search just produces miles and miles of news stories about his racist comments about Puerto Rico. So
my box with he's Puerto Rican, and his parents are like on vacation right now, like in some country, not in Puerto Rico. Mm-hmm. And I guess they texted him being like, "Oh, did you hear about this Tony Hinchcliffe guy?"
Okay.
And the dad's like, "Oh, I think he's funny." I was like, "But mom's freaking out about this right now."
yeah. Storming around.
They don't. Some people don't know he's a comedian.
Well, Puerto Ricans are notoriously stupid, so that's the issue. And these are my people. I'm allowed to say this. Like, we're not too smart. So, but I just don't think it. I don't think you're swaying anyone's vote. It just doesn't matter. What are some of the highlights, Shannon? Give me some, please.
So anyway, that's what Louis Gomez had to say, a Puerto Rican comedian, about Tony's comments and how they will affect the vote. And you've already seen how much influence he wields. His Netflix show is the most streamed Netflix show in Netflix history. What he said about the YouTube episode with Trump and Biden impersonators. And then I just showed you the Pollstar data about how Kill Tony is, quote, eating SNL's lunch. So Kamala went and did SNL last night. I watched it. It was fucking terrible. SNL is fucking terrible and has been for years. And that's one of the reasons. Tony's a guy with real heart who really helps people out and has created multiple careers for people that have disabilities, for people that are, of minority backgrounds. And so I'm just going to show you a couple of the, let's start with these David Lucas moments, because David Lucas is probably one of the biggest comedians that Tony has put on. And this is from his channel that he's great. So he has his own career, a giant career of his own. He's touring comedy clubs and stuff because of Tony.
Thank y'all for watching and supporting my channel through the growth this year as I reached 100,000 subscribers and
He's
also
well
millions of views and watch time hours on my channel. I appreciate all of y'all.
Are you going to make fun of Shane? It would be interesting to watch him get roasted by his own liver.
I've roasted Shane enough. That's my dog, man. That's my dog.
You don't have to do it, dude. Don't let them pit us against each other.
Shane Gillis is so
That's
drunk.
exactly what the left does, dude. You and I, it pits us against each other, dude.
You guys could make a movie together. It could be like White Men Can't Stop Eating.
Tony, what the fuck you got on
Tony.
your shit? Man? What the fuck?
Shut up, Tony.
This is the new Lululemon.
Yeah, motherfucker.
Yeah, Tony, you're the one who's fucking gay.
Yeah.
Just like the Trump Cheney comments, if you don't know who Tony is the only way you would be offended by this. And I think that the Trump people looked at the numbers I was just showing you and went, oh crap, we got to get this guy on. And they just let him do what he does. Like he said in his speech there, he's for free speach. But anyway, let's.
It is the Kill Tony debut, I do believe, of Jacob Barr, everybody. Jacob Barr. Oh, my God. Holy shit.
Thank you.
Well.
Thank you. I'm not.
Oh, my God. Okay.
Careful what you wish for.
Okay, hold on. We're going to reset this, Jacob. Going to give you a nice clean slate in a full 60 seconds. We weren't expecting that. Holy fucking shit, man. Ladies and gentlemen, one more time for Jacob Barr.
Thank you. Thank you. What's up, everybody? I had sex today. Thank you.
Good for him.
All right. Who wants to smell my nub? Thank you. No. I used my dick. The first time a girl ever saw it, her reaction was, oh, thank God. It was my beautiful fiance. She's up in Michigan. She's a beautiful woman. She's a scientist. She's trapped. She's a beautiful woman. Whenever she tells everybody she's a scientist, I'm always like, and I'm her experiment that went horribly wrong. All right, shut the fuck up. I'm very anxious. Shut the fuck up. All right. I was born without an...
So a guy like this, it's, again, just to kind of show you the nature of Tony, a guy like this, his whole life has probably been teased and ridiculed, and he just wants to be accepted somewhere. And you have this community of freaks, the island of misfit toys that is Kill Tony. And that's what's so beautiful about it. And a guy like this is accepted there. And actually, it's funny to see guys like Martin Phillips and this guy come out and actually kill, while like a normal person without a disability comes out and bombs. And it's a meritocracy, probably the most real meritocracy that there is right now in America, because it doesn't matter who you are or what you look like. as long as what you say is funny and makes people laugh. And that's kind of beautiful.
I can't hear.
My God, Jacob, welcome to the show. The show was built for you.
Thank you. I'm very happy to be here. Thank you
The
for
show
having
was
me,
built
everybody.
for you.
Thank you. Great.
My God Almighty.
To an applause, a room full of people. Like,
This is absolutely incredible. I give your
Anyway,
set
I'll
2
shut up.
thumbs up and 2 hands in. Oh, shit. Look at that. Absolutely.
So this is the kind of brutal comedy that Tony's famous for. And again, I think based on his numbers alone, most people know that. So let me show you one more example of the kind of dude Tony is.
A brand new comedian. I met her after I did stand up at the Ryman Auditorium, aka the Grand Ole Opry in Nashville. There was a big comedy festival going on, and my squad told me.
Let me just pause for a second here too and say one more thing that I think is, interesting about comedians like Tony and Jimmy Dore, for example, is comedians are touring the country and actually talking to people everywhere in every state. So they have their finger on the pulse of America, I think, a lot better than, most people, because they're traveling around the country constantly and talking to people. And, like he just said, he met this woman on tour, doing a date in a small town.
That she's an amazing comedian. She said she's coming to Austin. I said, I guarantee you a spot. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the Kill Tony debut, the first minute ever done by the great, brand new Fiona Cawley, ladies and gentlemen. Fiona Cawley, everyone. Make some noise for Fiona, everybody. You can do better than that. All the way from Nashville, Tennessee, her Austin, Texas debut, and her Kill Tony debut, all at once. One more time for Fiona Cawley, everybody.
As soon as they wheeled her, I was like, wow, this woman is gorgeous too.
We can talk about it. So I've been in a wheelchair for a few years now, and the most common question I get, people want to know, what is the hardest part about living life from a wheelchair? And, for me personally, the hardest part is just how unaware everyone is of what a great ass I have.
Hilarious. Brilliant.
Take my word for it. Y'all know how men will brag about I fucked her so good she couldn't walk the next day. Rude. Well, I'm looking for a man who can fuck me so good that I can.
Fiona Cawley has arrived to the Kill Tony universe. Hello, Fiona.
Hello.
How are you? You are the hottest chick in a wheelchair I've ever seen.
Yeah.
And he's done the research.
Tony saying what I was thinking out loud.
It's a thing. Old Hot Wheels over there.
So, what is your condition?
Yeah, I have a rare neurological disease called Friedreich's ataxia. It affects your muscles.
So it's going to get worse.
Yeah, hell yeah.
Party time.
Well, that's a feather in your cap. Okay.
No, if you're a person who has a, life-altering disability like this, just imagine how being in a situation like this, imagine what it does for you, it's insane. So anyway, the point of me showing you all this stuff again is just to show you the kind of person that Tony Hinchcliffe really is. and the fact that most people in the country kind of already know that. So let me read a little bit more of this to you before and put a bow on this right here. I got a couple more slides from this that I think, kind of help sum up the story really well. So let me jump up to this one. Here we go. 3 more comedians who regularly appear on Kill Tony podcast made their Madison Square Garden debut. Jared Nathan, who is mentally disabled from Toronto, who has a severe stutter. Martin Phillips from Washington, D.C., who has muscular dystrophy. And Aaron Bilal, who competed in the 2023 America's Got Talent final and who has cerebral palsy. He can't talk and therefore delivers all of his jokes typing on a phone connected to a Bluetooth speaker placed in front of the mic. Sometimes their sets are about their disabilities, sometimes not at all. The only thing that matters for those few minutes on stage is that you're funny. That's always been the case at open mics. Open mics just never had this big of an audience before. So yeah, that's a great point. Kill Tony's basically like a giant open mic with a host that, is great at roasting the contestants. One of the things that makes our show special, said Hinchcliffe, is that you're seeing different people, different shapes and sizes and faces and ages and everything. Usually with long form podcasts, you're watching 2 people have a conversation about different topics for a long time, but this is not on, but on this show, I don't even know how to describe it. It's fireworks. There's different colors and expressions, different moments, and even some duds that makes you realize that the whole thing is live and that anything can happen, which makes you appreciate the great moments that much more. And I think if you watch the show, Tony, there's a little bit more of it that's scripted and planned than maybe he lets on, but that's okay. He's got to make it entertaining. A core part of Kill Tony are the interviews after every 1-minute set where Hinchcliffe teases out interesting things about the comedians. I want our audience to be able to hear these different perspectives from everybody, he explained, where they're from, how they grew up, what they do, what makes them different. It's all critical to the flow of the show. We're all different, but we all laugh. At a lot of the same stuff. We're all different, but we all laugh at a lot of the same stuff. And it brings us together. The show is so raw, so organic, so live. There's just never been anything like that before. And I can't believe that I'm the one that did it. A little white trash Italian kid from an all-black neighborhood in Youngstown, Ohio, is just the American dream. And I could not be more ecstatic about it all. So we'll kind of end there on the Tony Hinchcliffe piece. I think you get what I was trying to say.